go. Okay, so informally, these 10 points, I'm sure I didn't come up with this, I'm sure someone told me this, but I kind of put them into 5 and 5. Like the first 5 seem pretty obviously physical. You know, what do you do with your head, even though it's talking about more than that. What do you do with your chest and your shoulders and your back? What do you do with your waist, your legs, your feet? When we get to 6 through 10, it gets a little more mental, or you might even say spiritual, depending on what that word means to you. Number 6. Again, nice, short, important point. Use mind and do not use strength. Yeah, I'll say that again. Use mind and do not use strength. So we could define terms, or we could do the commentary. Let's define terms. The mind and strength here aren't direct translations, of course. The mind is the word E, where are you? Which is, according to this book, is the part of the mind that governs the movement of the body. It's associated with the idea that precedes an action. Their example here is if you're driving a car and you want to make a right turn, first your E wants to make it, then the body follows it. It's coming. So you can think of whatever part of your mental process feels like it says, this is what I'm going to do before you do it. That's your mind. That's your E. And then the strength here is you can't use no strength. The strength here is Li, which means localized muscular strength. So it's, pick like one muscle and that has Li in it. So we're talking about not using that particular localized strength, but using our intention to act instead. Now that sounds odd maybe to you, but there's a lot of commentary on this one, so I'm just going to read it and then try not to stop with terms too often. So, commentary. What the whole Tai Chi Chuan treatise says is to use mind and to not use strength. In Tai Chi Chuan's training, the whole body becomes loose and open. There's no localized muscle strength that would stifle the tendons and bones and blood circulation, so as to cause you to be bounded by your own strength. If you are not that way, bounded by your own strength, then you will be light and swift and able to change circular turning at will. Perhaps you may doubt that you shouldn't use strength. You wonder how you're going to increase your strength. The human body has many channels as the ground has channels, and then parentheses, springs, sewer drains, etc. If these channels are not obstructed, the water is able to flow through. If the tendons, ligaments, and blood vessels are not closed, then the qi is able to flow through. If the whole body stiffens up, then the qi and blood will get stopped, will not move smoothly. If you pull one hair, the whole body will move. If you do not use strength but use mind, then wherever your E wants, that's where your qi will be. If you do this the way you're supposed to, the qi will flow daily, moving back and forth, flowing throughout the body without stopping any time. Practice like this for a long time, then this is the authentic internal Jing, or power. This is, as the Tai Chi Chuan Classic says, extreme softness can later become extreme hardness. For the people who are expert in Tai Chi Chuan, their upper arms and upper backs are like iron wrapped with cotton, extremely heavy. For the people who train in the external systems, when they are using strength, their strength shows. When they are not using strength, they become light and floating, off balance. From this, we can see that their strength is only on the surface. This external system strength is very easily achieved by others and is not considered to be of great value. So I'll leave aside the talking about the other systems for now. Not that interesting to me. I like a lot of styles. I think they all have great things to offer. Tai Chi Chuan happens to be the one that I've chosen as my main art, but I like and respect a lot of them. So, anyway. So this gets at a lot of things. One thing that jumps out is the whole, if you stiffen up, then you can be moved as a unit. Whereas if you are not stiff, you can't be so easily manipulated. And a good example of this, I think, is if you you've ever played like light as a feather, stiff as a board, when you straighten your body, people can kind of handle you and manipulate you, and hopefully you trust them. I think that's a trust exercise. But so yeah, so if you become firm, then people can kind of handle you like you would handle a rod. Whereas the counterexample would be a child that does not want to be picked up. If you try to pick them up, they go limp and loose and kind of falling all over the place, and there's no way to manipulate them as a unit because the shape keeps changing where the weight's distributed. And this is the whole rod versus chain thing. Like you could have like a rod of a certain weight that seems pretty heavy, but you can still pick it up and do things with it. But you take that same amount of weight and put it into a chain, and whatever you pick up, the other parts are always spilling out and going different directions, and it's harder to handle. So in this case, you are being that chain. You want to be that chain that's harder to handle for your opponent. Another thing it reminds me of is, oh gosh, I'm sorry, we'll do some Tai Chi in a second. This is a long lecture. But another thing it reminds me of is drunk driving accidents. What? In drunk driving accidents, the person who is not drunk usually gets more injured than the person that is drunk, all things could be equal, right? So if you see the wreck happening and you get stiff, then your body is easily damaged by what happens to it, whereas the person who's drunk may not even realize it's happening, and they're relaxed enough that the damage may be less. I know it's very general, but as an idea, that's what brings it to mind. So how do we do it? If you have any questions about any of that, let me know. So how do we practice it? Well, we're going to go through our first section and just make an effort to let go of any leap, let go of any stiffness, tension, local strength that might bind us. How do we do that? Relax. Relax. Not relax, but relax. Okay. So we'll go through the first section. If you notice some part moving on its own with local muscular strength, try to let it go. As always, forget about the other first 5 points for now. Forget about making your form perfect. Use mind, not strength. And use mind, not strength. As you're going, just continually check yourself for the feeling of over-strengthening or tensing. Do another quick check. Where do you feel the leap? Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel some part of your body tighter than the rest, doing more than the rest? especially on moves that are more challenging or less familiar, do have extra vigilance for over strength in any part. Let the strength be distributed. Let's do that one more time. See if there's anything else to add to it right now. Maybe you can get a feeling like the breathing and relaxation from the start of class. And if you have ever felt where you can suddenly feel the whole thing and just be aware of the whole thing, see if you can do that, where you're suddenly just aware of the whole system as you're moving through. As opposed to, I'm moving my hand. You know, your mind is in this part or that part. Let it be in no particular part. Begin. Think of the open channels, open pathways. See if you can get a sense of where anything might be blocked off. Close. So yeah, that's the first of the second set of 5, we could call it, where we get more into the mental and associated ideas. Let me know if none of that, or let me know if any of that didn't make sense, or if none of that made sense. And yeah, I'll try to help you out next class. All right, let's do our life skill. Path of self-mastery requires a creative spirit. Creative spirit has no self-doubt. Path of self-mastery requires a creative spirit. A creative spirit has no self-doubt. Path of self-mastery requires a creative spirit. Creative spirit has no self-doubt. Access training dismissed.